Hi everyone. I want to really start first by saying thank you to many people who worked hard to put this very special program together. I want to thank the two co-chair people of the committee that worked on this, Rabbi Baruch Melman and Yehuda Katz. Baruch worked very hard in the last few days putting lots of things together, and Yehuda brought many people in and helped get this thing started beautifully. I also want to thank Stewie Wax for doing a lot of early research to help start this off, and also Alan Bachman, who really thought of this brilliant idea and really gave it to us as a thought to be able to have people like us get together and hear our Rebbe and speak to each other and be seen and be heard by enough people to understand a little bit more about who Rabbi Shlomo was. And Yaakov Kelman has helped significantly, regularly in putting things together. And also Jeffrey Levine, who really has organized that the Aliyat Lekever be live video streamed, and it will be preserved on this site. And that's definitely an amazing event, a powerful event to see. And I'm grateful for the foundation in Israel, the Karlbach Foundation, for doing that. And speaking of the Karlbach Foundation, when I looked at their publicity, I saw a beautiful quote from Meir Amshinover, who was one of the big Hasidic Rebbes in the 60s, who was actually very close to Reb Shlomo and thought the world of him. And I saw a beautiful quote attributed to him, and he said that many great Rebbes have brought the dead back to living. Reb Shlomo has brought the living back to life. And that kind of tchiyat hachayim, to give life to people that are alive but are not connected to the depth of life, I think is what Reb Shlomo really put all his energies into, whether it was the frum world, the religious world after the Holocaust, that was heartbroken, obviously, and felt decimated. His music, his teachings, his positive message really brought life again into that world. And similarly, people that were totally unaffiliated, the Hippalach, as he would call them, of the 60s, people that were totally secular, were equally touched by the life force that marked who Reb Shlomo really was. And the fact that he continues to be a living force to many people and inspire them, many who never met him, of course, is really amazing, and has many wondering, how is it that he can be so relevant and so alive to so many people in such a powerful way 24 years after his Tira? And I'll perhaps start by sharing a story that he would tell that I think maybe illustrates a little bit the force that he was coming from, that the unique way he gave his message. Perhaps there's a story that Reb Shlomo himself tells that will help us better understand this phenomenon. He told a story about Rav Shimon Skadovitzer, and just as a little introduction into who this Rebbe was, he was a Hasidic Rebbe in the 1900s before the Holocaust, and he was a very well-to-do man. He didn't need to be a Rebbe to earn a living, so to speak. He was a Rebbe because he wanted to help people, and the story really shows it. So a man comes to Reb Shimon Skadovitzer and he says, Rebbe, my daughter has been taken captive, so to speak, has been taken by this man, and who conned her into believing he loves her. He's holding her in this convent and he's really beating her. I know that. I've gotten reports, and she is really suffering a lot. And Rebbe, I want my daughter back. Can you please give me a bracha that my daughter should come back to me? And the Rebbe didn't just do the traditional thing. Of course he gave a bracha, but the Rebbe immediately got up from his chair and he said to his aide, let's go to the convent. And the Rebbe and his aide arrive there, and he soon sees a little Christian boy about to enter, and he calls him over and he gives him 20 ruble, and he says, do me a favor, give this note to this and this woman who is in a certain part of the convent. He told him where. Anyway, the Rebbe stayed there all day with his aide, and then at certain points they each needed to relieve each other, to whether it's to pray or whether it's to do personal things. They kept vigil on to the next day, and alternating but basically maintaining a presence there, and the Rebbe was there practically the whole time, all of that day. She still didn't show. She finally showed on the third day. Late on the third day she came. And after she came, people asked her, what took you 3 days? You got the note 3 days earlier. And she said, you know, every time I looked out of the window, I saw that Rebbe was still there. And I knew if I wouldn't come, that Rebbe wouldn't leave. And that's the kind of Rebbe, the kind of Yiddishkeit, the kind of spirituality we need, is a connection to spirituality, to the divine, to God, that's eternal. Our tradition is an eternal one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has never left us in the worst of times. And God is with us in the tragedy, God is with us in the best of moments. Our spirituality is unique because it's with us forever. And we have withstood all the challenges. By the laws of history, we shouldn't be here. And yet we've overcome it because we're connected to something that touches us so deeply that never leaves us. And I think that was Reb Shlomo, the way he led his life, the way he taught, his message. He was there for people. You know, there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says, Hu ha Yomer. It introduces the words of a lot of different rabbis who give ethical teachings. And it means, he used to say, is the common popular translation. But Reb Meir Shapiro, one of the great Hasidic yeshivas before the Holocaust, also a Rebbe in his own right, said, Hu ha Yomer, translated literally, Hu means he, Haya means was, Omer means said. He was what he said. He lived the message that he spoke. And that's true with Reb Shlomo. He really gave to so many of us so much attention, so much support, so much of his time. And I think that's in large measure why that message was so heartfelt and why its impact is continuing, because it was part of the eternity of the Torah, you know. And his message was so broad that it reached people from all walks of life. It wasn't meant for people that are perfect. Reb Shlomo himself did not profess to be perfect. He taught the Torah of mistakes. It was meant to help people with mistakes. You know, many years ago, I spoke to this great rabbi, and he told me how Reb Shlomo was amazing. He would go to India every month, and he would do the Shabbatons and inspire people. And I didn't want to break his heart, but he a little bit broke my heart, because I knew that Reb Shlomo didn't go to India every month. And it was the punchline that he used after he told me this that really hurt me a little bit. He said, you know, he was an angel. We can't learn from him. He was beyond us. And at that moment, I kind of said to myself, in a certain sense, I wouldn't say Chas v'Shalom Reb Shlomo failed, but that was not the message he wanted to get out. The message he wanted to get out is, in spite of our imperfections, in spite of our mistakes, he taught the Torah of mistakes. We can still rise and achieve the highest things in life. We can still aspire and have dreams and have goals and have visions and put our effort into achieving the impossible. He used to say, the whole world says, live up to your potential. I say, rise beyond your potential. You know, and you don't have to be perfect. We all have mistakes. We all do wrong things. Matter of fact, he would quote the Kotzker Rebbe in a beautiful story, saying, a man comes to the Kotzker Rebbe and says, Rebbe, you know, I mastered the whole Torah, I really understand it. Rebbe, I'm perfect. I have it all figured out. The Rebbe said to him, God forbid he should quickly go home and say goodbye to his wife and children, because if he's perfect, he's dead. A human being who's alive is by nature imperfect. Through his teachings, songs, stories, essence really, Reb Shlomo gave us the tools to be able to live with our imperfections, dream of, and to actually achieve the highest. So we dedicate tonight really all the learnings of the Torah to the Aliyas Neshama, the elevation of the soul of Reb Shlomo ben Pesach. And he had a beautiful teaching. I want to end really with his teaching on what it means, Aliyas Neshama, the elevation of the soul. It's a teaching which is the end of a long story, which perhaps God willing we'll share some other time. But the teaching is so powerful. It says, how is the Neshama elevated, Reb Shlomo asked. How is the Neshama receive this higher elevation? And he said that every time, especially on a Yahrtzeit, that you share the positive message, the empowering message, the inspiring message of the person that was departed with other people down here on earth, and they become inspired and they act on what they hear in heaven, that soul gets elevated. And I am sure Reb Shlomo's neshama is elevated to the highest place for all the amazing inspiration, the seed that he's been of growth, of hope, of Torah learning, of loving, of positiveness in the world to so many people. And God should bless us that he has really given us what we call neshama power, soul power, power to really be able to have our neshamas shine. So may God bless us that we learn from his beautiful positive message how to lead our lives in ways that inspire the world for good things, that spread the light in the world. The world, especially in this day and age, needs that kind of positive energy. And the more we bring it down here, the more that energy will elevate his soul, and the closer we will come to the great redemption, the great day that he always called for. May we quickly see that great day again, when the world will be one, and when the loving, holy, beautiful, positive message which Shlomo so tirelessly tried to bring into the world will really reign, God willing, quickly in the world. Biat Goel B'mehera B'yameinu Amen.